it's incredibly important that the U.S. is competitive when it comes to the policy and regulatory environment in all things crypto. That's not where we have been, unfortunately. We've really had a pretty hostile regulatory environment in lots and lots of ways. And instead of doing the work to provide clarity and clear rules of the road, we've actually, I think in some ways, the SEC under Gensler has sowed confusion by filing lawsuits that sometimes even contradict each other. So for me, like supporting Fairshake even more and even signaling that we're going to continue to do this, it's really about getting people elected who are pro-crypto, pro-innovation, but also are focused on protecting consumers. We think by getting that right mix, we're really moving the whole agenda forward and catching up with what we've already seen in other economies around the world.
So later today, RFK will be speaking. He's at virtually every event I go to. Meanwhile, you had Trump speaking to Libertarian National Convention this past weekend in D.C., saying very pro-crypto things. He's become more of the crypto candidate. Meanwhile, you've got Biden apparently softening his stance on crypto. At least that's a perception among those in the sector. It seems like crypto is more a part of the conversation than it's ever been before in this presidential election cycle. Any thoughts on that dynamic?
I mean, like, it's a magical time to be alive as part of my reaction to that. 10 years ago when I first really got deeply involved in crypto, I couldn't have predicted kind of what we're seeing today. But it's also, I feel like, the inevitable march of progress. These technologies can improve so many ways in which transactions are settled, more transparency, more, faster, cheaper. And so to me, it's that forward progress. The fact that we have what should have been a bipartisan, broadly supported technology, somehow it became partisan. I really attribute that Elizabeth Warren in particular kind of stood out and spoke, I think, misinformation and saying like, well, everybody doing crypto is doing bad things. And just nothing can be further from the truth. There's so many examples even here at this conference of incredible entrepreneurs building incredible tools that can improve the efficiency of how financial transactions work. And look, some of our financial system was developed 50, 60 years ago. It's time to bring it into the internet age for the benefit of consumers, for the benefit of businesses. And to fight that progression, that inevitable march of progression, to fight that, I think, is just silly. So I do think seeing it become a presidential topic isn't that surprising to me. There's a lot of passion. I'm sure you felt it here as well. There's a lot of passionate people about this industry, and they will vote their mind. And I think that's important.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.
And make sure you join the Patrons. If you're not a part of the Patrons, make sure you're hitting the Cash App. And we have Brad Garlinghouse speaking about donating to these politicians. And this should let you know politicians are paid and bought for. Who's ever writing the biggest check gets the agenda moved. But who's always behind the agenda? That's right, the banks. The banks fund both sides. The Democrats and Republicans, you need both wings to fly. They always come together in order to push an agenda. And we clearly see these big banks and big corporations have been funding crypto from the beginning. And the only thing you have to do is look at the funding rounds for Ripple. And then he speaks about Gary Gensler. And we know Gary Gensler and Janet Yellen are the chess pieces in order to get us moved over to this fourth industrial revolution. Why is that, guys? Because first, regulation is the only way we're getting over. And the other way is money. And Gary Gensler has been kicking the regulation can down the road. So the emerging markets rise first. And we had Janet Yellen and Jerome Powell state there would be no inflation. And inflation is so high, millennials can't even buy a home. Now they're talking about you sharing a home. And guys, we know that's the agenda. Once they tokenize it, you'll have 10 people owning one home. And all we need, guys, is that one crisis in order to get us moved over. Remember, the NWO caused the problem, wait for the reaction, and run in with the solution. They printed all this money to cause all this inflation, handed the masses a little bit of money, and then the fact is, the masses have been paying tenfold back. And you don't hear a word from the sheep. But then, of course, they're going to be running in with that solution. Because we know the crisis is coming. We heard the drums of beating, cyber attacks every day. And we know the people are going to run to the government. And the government has that programmable money already ready. Being able to tell you what, when, and how to buy. And you have 3 to 6 months to spend it or poof, it's gone. And guys, we know that it's clearly biblical. The Bible tells you how to create a new world order step by step. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Now, as soon as the verdict came out, Trump and Biden was raising money. And we know the sheep gave because they fall for the divide and conquer every single time. My people perish from the lack of knowledge because they rejected. And remember, the crypto teacher told you. Because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
You know, the SEC, I think, has been losing in the courts. They've been losing in the court of public opinion, and I think increasingly they're losing in politics. And so, you know, we certainly saw that happen with the Bitcoin ETF. They were kind of dragged kicking and screaming into the approval of the Bitcoin ETF because of court decisions. And so I think that they knew if they didn't support and approve the ETH ETF, that likely the same thing was going to happen. And so I think that's also a very positive thing. But you know, the SEC lost on Capitol Hill with the vote on SAB 121. They obviously lost in the Ripple case. You know, I think Gensler has, I think, had a misguided approach to how to regulate this industry, and he hasn't done the work that other countries around the world have done to provide that clarity, provide rules of the road and frameworks, whether it's UAE, Japan, UK, and we just haven't done that here in the United States. You know, if you're asking me will they get signed into law before the end of the year, I'm probably a little bit skeptical that it happens before the election. You know, as we all have seen, the wheels of legislative progress move slowly and carefully. So I'm thrilled by the progress that we made in the last even 3 weeks. And I think it may have been the most important 2 or 3 weeks in the U.S. crypto evolution ever. But I still think getting the legislation passed may require, you know, after the election, maybe before the end of the year, more likely the first half of next year. But again, I view this as very, very positive because the winds have changed in how the U.S. government is looking at this. And we haven't yet seen explicit decisions from the Biden administration, but you have seen, as you described earlier, a softening of some of the rhetoric coming out of this administration. And I think driven by the fact that people understand this is a topic people care deeply about, and frankly, the fact that it's become a little bit partisan. And in a very tight election, this could be a deciding factor.
The basic of the unified ledger, which was basically to have an image of the financial system where there would be very easy interaction, where we put the individual at the center, where the individual could decide very flexibly what type of financial transaction, what type of payment can they do.
As the verdict was announced last night, former President Trump convicted on 34 counts. Both campaigns immediately kicked up their fundraising efforts. Megan Casella in D.C. has more. Hi, Megan.
Kelly, that's exactly right. So we're seeing former President Donald Trump and his campaign working to fundraise off this guilty verdict in a major way. The campaign said this morning that it had raised nearly $35 million yesterday after the verdict from small dollar donors. The campaign says nearly 30% of those were contributing for the first time.
Going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. with triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in in ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Chinese bank ICBC has been hit by a ransomware attack, and the U.S. Treasury market, as a result of that, has been disrupted. This, according to the Financial Times. We're getting more right now with Bloomberg's Shonali Bassick. Shonali, what do we know?
Listen, we have the Financial Times now reporting that ICBC, one of China's largest banks here, was hit with a ransomware attack. And remember, they're a very significant intermediary in the Treasury market. The SIFMA has told its members that this has been part of the reason here that the system is kind of clogged up, if you will, during that auction that we saw a little bit before. The attack had prevented ICBC, according to the Financial Times, from settling Treasury trades on behalf of other market participants. A large executive at a major bank also telling the paper that such a large party on the fixed income clearing corp creates major concerns, potentially impacting the liquidity of Treasury markets.
Now, it was not just a poor auction. It was absolutely lousy, and when the dealers have to step in to save a treasury auction, that's a rare occurrence.
I hate when countries go off the dollar. I would not allow countries to go off the dollar, because when we lose that standard, that will be like losing a revolutionary war. That will be a hit to our country, just like losing a war. And we can't let that happen. And too many countries now are fighting to get off the dollar.
Cryptoteacher and the New World Order book, plus the 3 Kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing they were still getting that free money, what are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York from COVID 33. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.